Hello, everybody. Welcome to Got Your Back. Today on the podcast, we've got a beauty, a big-time guest. With his return to Calgary set for next Tuesday, Panthers forward Matthew Tkachuk is going to join us to discuss his season so far and expectations for his return.
There's probably only a handful of people that actually get booed, individuals that get booed in the road rings, but normally the players that do, they're doing something right.
Oh, and he does. This guy gets booed, and it's going to be interesting to see his return to Calgary. We also asked him to compare playing for Maurice versus Sutter, and you're going to want to hear his answer. Also on the podcast, we'll go over some of the latest happenings around the league, including a look at the Leafs D-core, which is, some kind of decimated right now, meaning the elder statesman Mark Giordano is going to have to carry a massive load. That $800K is about to look pretty bargain basement. Presented by Cross Country Canada Supplies and Rentals, you're listening to Got Your Back. And we'll remind you, Cross Country Canada Supplies and Rentals provides equipment and supplies to all facets of the Canadian construction industry. But what really sets them apart is their get-her-done attitude, a core value of their company. I've been to their head office. They actually have it displayed on the wall at each of their branches. Every one of their staff members lives by the get-her-done formula to ensure they never let their customers down. They'll bend over backwards to get their clientele what they need when they need it. Cross Country Canada takes great pride in this attitude and truly believes their customer success is their success. As we say good morning to an early morning Ray Ferraro, a little earlier on the Pacific time zone, Ray, and you got a busy day ahead of you. So we've got, I don't know, is it early morning grumpy Ray version, or what version of Ray do we have at this early hour?
No, this is out of bed, trying to find the stuff I need to pack that should have been done a couple of days ago that I need to do before kids get to school and flight gets going. So I get some things going here that I'd like to. This is the fallacy of my life. I like to tell myself I'm really organized.
You're not.
Ryan,
I can tell you you're not. I've traveled with you, Ray. How can you fool yourself into calling yourself an organized person, buddy?
It's one of life's great lies that I tell. But okay, for example, I'm going to see my son in Germany. Landon's playing over there in Cologne. And
awesome.
I'm really looking forward to it. Haven't seen him play live since 2018. So, this will be really fun. But get to spend some time with him and his wife, Emily, and it'll be great. I know I got a phone chart or an adapter, a Euro adapter here. I know I do. I know I got a couple of them.
Yeah.
Which drawer they're in, which box. This should not be a hunt and search mission at 6:37 in the morning.
So you're a lot of wonderful things, Ray, and I love you. Well, I'm going to show you right now. Just 1 second.
Because this has the potential to pull the headset out of your computer, and then
you're good. So what do you need here, Ray? I got this international one. I got a bag here. I literally have an entire bag here.
Okay, but
international
adapters. Huh? I know. Yeah, you know where it is.
It's in the basket. There's a basket right down here in my office. It just goes right here. I just throw it in the basket. Look, I see this basket. Throw it in the basket.
I got a basket like that, Ryan. You know what's in it?
Goes on my shelf.
You know what's in the basket I have like that? Kit Kat bars.
Oh, buddy. I love it. So, and you're a procrastinator too on this stuff. Hey, you're packing, are you fully packed yet?
What's your definition of fully?
Is your zipper done up in the things by the front door right now?
That bag is, yes. My pack, no, not done. Oh. That's so I get, and that's the one that's kind of the most important stuff. You got to fill 10 hours on the flight, right? So you got to be organized.
Oh, buddy,
I'll get it done. It'll get done.
You'll get her done, eh?
Nice.
Hey,
well, if I don't, I'm going to get on the plane anyway. So
one way or another, you're going to Germany. Just how comfortable you're going to be on the way. Hey, we had Matthew Tkachuk on the podcast. So Pierre and I are the ones that did the interview. So that's coming up here in the next segment. But I just wanted to get your impressions really quick before we get on to our other content today. Like, often it takes guys a little bit of time to get settled into a new environment after a big change, Ray. But he had 8 points in his first 5 games, and it's been really smooth sailing for Matthew Tkachuk. Why do you think that is?
Because of his personality. That, you know, like some people, they do take a long time to get settled in. And, a great example is Linus Ullmark in Boston. Last year, he signs a 5-year deal. For him, it's a major step. He leaves Buffalo, he goes to Boston, and he's brutal the first month. And, of course, the way media and fans are now is like, could they look at buying him out? It's a month into the contract, right? Stop it. Anyway, he, from the end of middle of November to now, he's been the best goalie next to Shesterkin in the league. It took him 6 weeks. He's like family, kids, wife, circle of friends, like all of it, just, playing to a new team, a new style. And it all was a lot for him. And he said, it took me time. Well, Tkachuk likes being the center of things. Like, it's part of his personality. I played with his dad a little bit. It was this part of Keith's personality. He loved being the center of it. Even when he didn't try to be, he was, right? Like, it's just his way. So Matthew goes to Florida, and he's not, I can guarantee you, he's not at all uncomfortable about his contract. He's not at all uncomfortable about a change and a new system and a new conference and new teams and living in Florida and any of that stuff. He's like, this is awesome. And so let's not forget too that he helped engineer that trade.
Yeah.
So he was going to a place that he wanted to go to. And so he hits the ground, and man, the guy's a terrific player, and he's playing with, he plays with good players, and he just swallows that up. I think, Ryan, that's why he can be successful where it might take people with different personalities a little bit longer to settle in.
Yeah. And we asked him about, so he's returning to Calgary next week. We hit him up on that. The other thing we asked him about, his answer was really interesting, was comparing and contrasting playing for Daryl Sutter versus Paul Maurice. Can you imagine any more dramatic a swing of coaching presence, than those two? And I'm not going to give away too much, but what I'll tell you is that in his answer, he didn't say Sutter's name once. Didn't breathe his name. Talked all about Paul Maurice in that answer. So it sounds like it's been a pretty dramatic swing for him that way. Right?
Well, if you've had the chance, never mind just their interviews, but if you've had the chance to talk to both of them, you say good morning to Daryl, and and start the conversation, and there's a way that he talks. It's short, it's direct. You say good morning to Paul, and you can, he's like us. I mean, you can go get a coffee by the time the answer's finished. Like, that's just his way. It's just the way Paul is, right? And
that's more like Dregs. Dregs is like that than you and me.
No, it's like you. It's like you. There's no
Am
question.
I more long-winded than Dregs? He and I get into this fight all the time.
Yeah, you know why I think I'd say you are, is you will turn down a couple of different paths. Dregs is like a dog on a bone. Like, he just goes straight ahead. And he's like, this is why you and I could go. I'm trying to think of where we were. Were we in Ostrava maybe? And we we ended up on the other side of some park, and we went for a walk. Like, we were
You must have been directing us. You must have been in charge of the directions.
It was were you in Paris?
No, I was not in Paris.
So, okay. It was a city with a central square, and we ended up so far away. You were contemplating different things you could do in your career. This is going to be hard for people to believe. I didn't have much to say. You were.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
Oh my gosh. We were miles away, and your strides are longer. So it's a lot of work for me to keep up.
Those little legs of yours are just
I was like the Fred Flintstone car. Tick, 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 tick. And so, yeah, you can get off the path a bit. But we talked about lots of things there.
Yeah, I remember that. Well, for the record, you just got off the path with that story you told.
Thank you.
I think maybe, at least I know it about myself. I think you think you're organized, and you think you're short-winded.
I'm not short-winded.
Least self-aware.
I know. No, I know that there are times I'm talking like right now, and I'm like, I should just shut up. Soon I should shut up, but I can't.
Well, the sooner you shut up, the sooner we can move on and we can get this done.
Do you have another topic?
and you can get packing, and you can
Do you
get
have another
yourself
topic?
ready. Yeah, we got a couple more topics. Let's get to it. We call it the breakdown here on Got Your Back, and it's brought to you by Pro Hockey Life. Love having them as sponsors. Christmas is on the way. Pro Hockey Life has absolutely everything you need for the hockey player or monstrous fan in your life, from equipment that fits all your needs or the needs of your player, to team apparel, jerseys, clothing, novelty items, stocking stuffers. It's a one-stop shop for the Christmas shopping. The hockey fan in your life, 16 locations across the country. Pro Hockey Life is obsessed with the game like Ray is, and like I am, and like you are. Let's start with the Toronto Maple Leafs here, Ray, because, man, they've been dealt. I mean, for some teams, this would be a death blow. We'll see what it ends up looking like for them. Morgan Rielly on LTIR with the left knee. Some are saying 4 to 6 weeks or longer. Jake Muzzin, as we know, is already out. Brody is out with an oblique right now. That is 3 pretty critical defensemen that are on the shelf. And when you look at who's going to eat those minutes, you look right at Mark Giordano. This is a tough one to have happen right now.
Yeah, well, of course it is of course, I think more people are starting to understand what LTI is all about, the long-term injury relief that you can get. And it looks great on paper, but you really can't do anything with it unless the player is not coming back. So it seems like Jake Muzzin is not going to be coming back. Certainly, if he is coming back, it's going to be way late in the season. So the Leafs will and can use that money to find a replacement, to do their best to find a replacement. Now, that's the first part of it. The second part is then they've got to be able to put a trade package together. Well, that's going to be an issue for them too, because they don't have a lot of draft picks, they don't have a lot of prospects, and it's going to be a challenge for them. The Rielly one is, he went on LTI this morning, I think, or late yesterday. Mm-hmm. So it's 24 days. That's great. You can go use Morgan Rielly's contract, but then as soon as he comes back, you got to do something with that money. It's kind of like Florida's got Anthony Duclair coming back here, and they're standing in a pothole. Like they're going to have to get rid of $3 million in salary or Duclair because they have no room. They can't bring him back. Yeah. So Toronto's in a tough spot. What I'm really kind of interested in is I didn't think their defense was at the level they needed it to be with those guys. And so I certainly don't think it is now. But the pressure to me doesn't go to Matt Murray in goal or Ilya Samsonov when he comes back. It goes to their forwards, because the Leafs, I think they're 6-1-3 in their last 10, and their goals against have gone way down. Even though there's always something that you look at and you go, oh, geez, look at what they did on that goal. Their overtime play is pretty brutal, but they've lost 3 times in it. But their forwards are going to have to score around this defense now. That's going to be their path forward, because you just can't magically make an NHL defenseman appear. You call a guy up, he might be good for 2 or 3 games. Then he hits the ditch, and then someone else might play for 2 or 3 games. So it'll be a challenge.
18 minutes and 39 seconds a night so far this season for Mark Giordano. And quite a bit of this is going to end up falling on him. And he's used to doing this. Throughout his career, he has eaten big minutes. He has taken big responsibility. He's played against the best players in the world night in, night out. Not necessarily the stage he's at right now in his career, but he's going to be leaned on to do this. He comes back for $800K, and what have you seen from him so far this year, Ray? How do you think he's set up to handle what's probably about to fall on his shoulders? I know they'll spread it around, but he's the guy that's been there and done this before.
I think he's had a really good season. I think he's had an amazing season if you compare it to the dollars that they're paying him. There's a lot of contracts around the league that teams don't get bang for buck from, and for $800K plus the way that he's been able to play, I think I don't know how anybody could be displeased with what Giordano's done. Here's the issue though, is he's going to end up with 3 or 4 more minutes a night probably. Mm-hmm. If they can keep it in the 22 range. There's a point with every player of diminishing return where you're most effective at 16 minutes, but not at 19. And I do think over the course of the next month, it's going to be a challenge for Giordano to keep his level of play. The one thing that he will do, because he's not the fastest guy, is he always plays really well. Like his head is his biggest asset right now. He knows the game. There's no play that he hasn't quite seen. Although some of the younger players play now is like, that must be even eye opening for someone that's been around as long as Mark has. There's more creative. It's quicker. There's more switches. All that stuff he's going to have to really be sharp on, because his foot speed isn't. Well, nobody's foot speed at age 40 is what it is at 25. Yeah. So that'll be a real challenge for him, and they got to be careful to try and get the best out of him. You can't overload him, and I mean that's the way I feel about it. Everybody wants to play more, but there is a point where you go, "Oops, we're now getting into a point where it's going backwards."
Yeah, 10-5-5 on the year, second in the Atlantic. We'll see how they do covering while these guys are away, heading out on a 4-game road trip. Oh, no problem. Just have the New Jersey Devils on tap. So I saw them the other night against the Oilers. Wow.
Yeah, I think they're doing okay. They're kind of on a heater, as old Jack would say.
The speed they play with, hey? Yeah. I mean, they're so fast. Like the Oilers were just backed right up all game.
Ryan, I watched them their first game of the year, and Nico Hischier wasn't in the lineup, and it was the first game. But my initial take was, man, these guys are small. Like their forwards are not very big at all. They got a big defense, but I was like, I wonder how this is going to work. And then they lost their first 3 games, and my picture gets hardened a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, I think they are too small. They can get pushed out of games, and then it's just like they hit their stride, and they've almost clinched a playoff spot already.
It's ridiculous.
Because if you think of it, if they need 95 points, what do they have right now? 32. I think something. I'm gonna grab the standings. I think it's 32 right now.
Yeah, and 16-3. 16-3.
So they're 32 points. They need 63 points in 63 games. Like they're going to get that, unless their goaltending falls off the planet. But man, they are something.
I think the interesting thing for me too is that I believe that a lot of this has to do with coaching. I really do. And you have fire Lindy chance early on in the season, but the style of play that he has them playing. And it's interesting, Ray, like you watch the games, like Thomas Tatar is playing the game in a way that I don't recall him playing at other points in his career. Like their style of play is so consistent. Shift, doesn't matter which line is out there, they play the same way. And to me, I think part of that has to fall on coaching.
Well, if we're ever, we always throw shade at the coaches when things don't go well. So when things go well, it can't just be the players, right? It's got like there's a mesh that has to happen, player to coach, and clearly they're off to an amazing start. And the other thing is the fire Lindy stuff and all that. Like, Lindy Ruff's been around forever. Like, I don't even know how many years he's coached, but good, bad, otherwise, he's been through most of it, and he just kind of plugs along and does his thing. And he's got there's no need for him to change. You've got to be accepting of what your players are. Like he can't coach a team that is going to be big and physical because they're not.
Yeah.
And so there's one of the advantages a veteran coach has, is that I think they're more able to look at their team and say, okay, this is the way I need to coach it. Might not be the way I, in my gut, feel I'd like to play, but this is the team I have. And I think Lindy deserves a lot of credit. I mean, that's been a coach that's been through black and blue teams. Remember his Buffalo teams? They were hard. Yeah. And they beat the hell out of you. And that's how he coached, because that's how they played. And so I enjoy watching them play, man. They're fun to watch.
You bring up the Buffalo Sabres. Let's go there again. I feel like every time I've had you on the pod this year, we've talked about Tage Thompson, but I guess it's just the kind of season that the guy is having. 2 more primary assists last night, and they were really nice ones. Leading the NHL with 20 points since October 31st, Tage Thompson. And, when he signed that deal, I think everyone raised a bit of an eyebrow and went, oh, do they know something we don't? I mean, 38 goals was good, but let's see him do it again. Why do you have to do that right now? All those questions came flooding in. If it keeps up this way, they probably save themselves $1 million to $1.5 million a year over the term of that deal. This seems to have been a great read And what a season from this 6'7" giant, Ray.
Yeah, I see a little Mario Lemieux in him. I mean, Mario Lemieux is one of the greatest of all times, but I played against Mario quite a bit because we were in the same conference. Now, I didn't get on the ice a lot against him, which was just fine. But when he gets the puck, Thompson too, their size, their reach, and their skill, it's impossible to get to the puck. Like they put the puck on the other side of their body, they shield it. The puck's literally 10 feet away from you all of a sudden. You're like, how am I going to get that? And and Thompson has just amazing hands. And the other thing is he loves to hold on to the puck. Like he loves
making plays, hey?
Yeah, he's so good. And here's the thing about the contract. And this is where I think it's probably best that most managers don't pay attention to what us and fans or anybody say is that, so say they would have waited a year. Then you're in the position with New Jersey is with Jesper Bratt. Hey, do it again. He's making $5.45 million this year. Well, what do you think that's going to cost?
Yeah.
So they made, it's their job to be able to evaluate their players. And so what they've done is they've got some term on Thompson. They went and signed Samuelson. The defenseman, Shell Samuelson's kid, he's another monster. Their defense is gigantic. They've got a bunch of these young guys locked up for years. Now, the hope is that they bet on the right guys. I don't think there's a miss with Thompson here. Like when they signed him, I was like, guys, 38 goals last year. That he's not going backwards. He's just too good. He's too big. He's got too good a shot. He's too creative. He's going to have a monster year again this year.
Shooting at 14%. Because you say, well, is it sustainable? That's one of the things you look at is shooting percentage when a guy's scoring lots of goals. His career is 11.4. It's not like he's 8 or 9 or 10% above what his career shooting percentage is. Like the goal scoring is very real. He did it last year. He's doing it again this year. But the quality of the plays and the skill level and the confidence that he's showing for a guy this size, you can bring up Mario for sure. And there's debate whether he's 6'6" or 6'7". Let's say he's 6'7" because it's a better story if he's 6'7".
From my size, Ryan, he's 6 tall.
10 foot 10.
Yeah, there's no chance that, like, who the hell cares 6'7"? The guys that matter were me, 5'8" or 5'10" on a hockey card. It goes down once it's 5'10", that's what it is.
Sabres are 8-11 on the season, 7th in the Atlantic. They're 2-8 in their last 10. They've had a rough patch this season. They've had a good patch and a rough patch. It's been a little bit up and down here. But I think when we watch them play and you look at the blue line and what they have on the way, well, what they have already here, the quality of play they're getting from young players, I think for the first time in a long time, Ray, the future in Buffalo seems not just bright, but it seems really, really bright. And it looks like it's really going to develop into something that could be pretty significant.
Ryan, if one of those college goalies that they have, Petrello or Levi, if one of them is really good, they're on the way. If they're both good, man, they're loaded because, Craig Anderson is 41 and their younger goalie, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, my favorite Finnish name of all time, I think. But he hasn't quite found any footing yet. Like Comrie's hurt. They've kind of danced around that position. And one of their theories is they don't want to make a deal for a goalie that blocks the path of their college guys. Now, and those guys are coming in March.
Makes sense.
So, so to go sign a goalie for 3 years that takes all the starts, well, how does that help these young guys? So their defense, like Samuelson, Dahlin, and Power are all enormous. And one thing that I think is you look around the league, and I know a lot of analytics will tell you that undersized defensemen are undervalued. Look at any team that gets deep in the playoffs and their defense is big. They clog up the ice. There's no room to go. They can all skate now. It's not like these big slow guys of the past. Buffalo's set up pretty good. Now these kids just have to develop. And you have to hope they develop kind of on the same timeline.
Dahlin is playing 26 minutes and 11 seconds a night. He's got 23 points. in 18 games. I mean, he has arrived in a huge way right now. Owen Power's a rookie, 23-33 a game. He's got 8 assists, looking for the first goal of the year. But you look at the way he skates with the puck and the way he can make passes and break out. Like, I was watching a bit of the game last night, and just the guy just controls games as a rookie. It's pretty crazy.
Well,
it's going to be fun to watch.
The ball's going to roll over there in the Eastern Conference pretty quick here. So Jersey's clearly taken the step this year, and certainly thus far. And then, but there's, Buffalo, and I know things have gone way sideways in Ottawa, but they've got some good players. Without Josh Norris and Thomas Chabot in their lineup, they're really thin. They're just thin, and they can't overcome it. I mean, they're getting smashed right now. But those three plus Detroit, there's going to be some regular participants in the playoffs that are going to run into the end of the road here pretty quick.
Quick thought on the Edmonton Oilers from you. What you're seeing here? They're dangerously close to that 500 range, but it's so packed up through the standings. They're like 4 or 5 points out of like 6th in the league. It's crazy how jammed up it is. But is there a concern level from you on where the Oilers are at? There's this U.S. Thanksgiving thing coming up, and they're a wild card team or barely in, depending on what happens here tonight. Where are you at on the Oilers, Ray?
Well, I think it's pretty clear they miss Kane quite a bit.
Yeah.
They miss Yamamoto. The healthy Yamamoto, the effective one. That takes your top 6 and cuts it by 30%. You're going to miss that. Wherever Yamamoto plays, now they got to fill in that spot. Wherever Kane is going to play, like, they can't fill in that spot. Like, you just can't go get anybody to do that. And, they didn't sign Jack Campbell to be a backup. And so while goaltending hasn't necessarily been the issue, they got to find a way to get him on the beam. And I will say this, I'll make this comparison since you've got Tkachuk on the show as well today, is that Jack Campbell's personality is nothing like Matthew Tkachuk's. It is nothing like it.
Yeah.
And so the change, the system change, the city change, the life change, to me, this is, I am a little surprised because I think Jack is a better than average NHL goalie. I really do. I don't really have a lot that makes me worry after watching the last 3 years or 2.5 years in Toronto. I think he's good. I'm not surprised that he's had a stumble out of the blocks here. I think it's more to do with everything else than stopping the puck, but everything else affects stopping the puck.
Yeah, a couple of the high-profile guys that changed locations over the summer, Jonathan Huberdeau, Jack Campbell. Sometimes it lands and guys do great, like we see with Matthew Tkachuk. Other times there's a stumble, and we've definitely seen a stumble for both of those players. Pretty critical players for their respective organizations, and we'll see if they're able to get themselves back on track. All right, that was the breakdown brought to you by Pro Hockey Life. Okay, Ray, you're done. You can go and get back to your tasks.
I'm looking at that globe over your shoulder.
What do you think of that? You like that?
Oh, it's nice, and I'm just thinking, I'll be somewhere else on that globe.
I'm going to grab this. I'm going to grab the globe here. So you're going from...
I'll spin it, and then I'm going the other way.
Spin it. You're going from... Oh, my eyes are terrible. I can't even see. There's
right
South America. No, you're not there.
No. If you see South America, go north. That's where we are.
Yeah.
And then...
all the way over to Germany.
Yes, there you go.
How many hours is the flight, buddy?
I don't know. I think it's 8.
You got some shows downloaded or what?
I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces of reading I got to catch up on from the league that I just loaded into.
Oh,
these. Yeah. So actually 12. And so that'll take a few hours. Then I'm listening to this podcast that I'm just
with Pierre and I every Wednesday.
No, that's not it. Are you a history guy?
Not particularly. I like it, but I wouldn't say that I gravitate towards it.
Okay. Somehow I found this one. I'm fascinated by history. My dad loved it, so I think that's we used to talk about it. I used to learn a lot from him about it, and it's called Real Dictators.
Okay.
And oh my gosh, the history through these people and what they did, which is, it makes you shake your head 100 times a show. But I'm fascinated by it. So I got a bunch of those downloaded. So I'll be listening away.
Right on, buddy.
I'm
Well,
not a
thanks
watcher.
for.
I don't like to watch. I get
See, and I'm
bored
not a
watching.
I'm not a huge reader. Like I do audiobooks instead of
Yeah.
actual books because I have to read so much for work. The last thing I want to do when it's time to relax is read because I got to wake up. You wake up every day and we all go through our notes and there's so much reading. So I listen to audiobooks.
Listen to you. Wow, there's so much reading.
No, it's not my favorite thing. I think I need my different prescription too, because too much reading and I start to get headachy. And so I find myself gravitating away from it. But I listen to audiobooks. One of my favorite things is when a person I'm interested in writes a book and then they narrate their own book. I love listening to audiobooks from the actual authors, the actual people. So Berkey had his, right? Matthew Perry just came out with one. Will Smith did one. I love narrated books. So when the Ray Ferraro,
No chance.
How to Be Organized.
That's a 2-volume set.
Exactly. Make sure you narrate your own book. I think it would be an amazing keepsake for your life to have narrated your own life story.
You know what? I'll keep that in mind. You know what is funny? When I come in, I fly back home and the custom guy, he's at customs. He's got his head down. He's doing his thing. And he's like, where you been? And I start talking and they just boink, their head. So many times their head just pops up. They're like, oh yeah, I got you on my EA game. Or, like they know my voice. They don't know me. They just know my voice. Right.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool legacy to leave behind, your voice on a video game. That's pretty cool.
Cammy walks around with earplugs. It's not so much of a legacy.
I know, for the hockey fan out there, they love hearing your voice, but everybody else, like, growing very tired of the sound of your voice. My family gets it too. They hear I'm in the office doing this, and then you do radio and you're talking on the phone. I can't stand the sound of my own voice as a podcaster anymore.
Yeah, and then you want to go have a conversation with one of the kids, and they're like, I've been listening to you for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And you're
I
like,
need you to just not talk right now, Dad. Which does not come easily for you, more so than me, Ray Ferraro. Hey, safe travels, my friend. Thank you so much for doing this. Say hi to Landon for us, and we'll touch base with you when you get back.
Will do, Ryan. We'll talk to you in December.
All right, sounds good. On the other side of the break, set to make his return to Calgary, Panthers star forward Matthew Tkachuk joins Pierre LeBrun and I. You're listening to Got Your Back, LeBrun and Rishaug, brought to you by Cross Country Canada Supplies and Rentals. We want to tell you about a truly Canadian company. Cross Country Canada Supplies and Rentals provides equipment and supplies to all facets of the Canadian construction industry. But what sets them apart is their get-her-done attitude. It's a core value of their company. I've been to the offices. I've seen how they proudly display that on the wall at each branch. Every one of the staff members lives by the get-her-done formula to ensure they'll never let their customers down. They'll bend over backwards to get their clientele what they need when they need it. They don't make excuses. Cross Country Canada takes great pride in this attitude, and they truly believe that the success of their customer is their success. You can't get much more Canadian than that. All right, time now for Who's Got Your Back, brought to you by Liberty Smart Security, a company that specializes in having your back. High-quality advanced smart security systems for your home or your business. Liberty Smart Security uses cutting-edge technology to protect the things that you value most in your life. Your home is your castle. Protect it with Liberty Smart Security. Visit libertysecurity.ca to see all of their products and their services. I've been protecting my family with a Liberty Smart Security system for a good 6 or 7 years, and it's awesome. It's so intuitive. It's easy to use if you want it to be, but it can be really advanced. There's all sorts of really cool systems that they have in place. You can get into geofencing. You can get into cameras, all sorts of really awesome stuff if you're more of the tech-minded homeowner, or it can be really, really simple if that's the way you want it to be as well. Liberty Security, a great company to use to protect the things that you value the most. Okay. So this player made the biggest of off-season splashes this year when he informed the Calgary Flames that long-term his future was not going to be in Calgary. And that coming off of a 104-point, 42-goal season for Matthew Tkachuk. But here's the deal. He worked pretty closely with the Flames to facilitate that trade. And so it would make sense, not just for himself, but for the organization as well. Was it just me, or was it one of the more cordial departures, early career departures for a star player and his organization? Because Calgary ended up with a great return. Matthew Tkachuk got the spot he wanted in the Florida Sun in a massive new 8-year, $76 million contract. He is set to make his return to Calgary next week, and he took some time out to chat with Pierre and I. Presented by Liberty Smart Security, Florida Panthers forward Matthew Tkachuk. On Twitter, he is known as Kachucky Cheese _ and he's got 51,000 followers, almost twice as many as his brother. On Instagram, he's got 131,000 followers. His brother only 101,000. What do you think, Matthew? Does he care more about that stuff, or do you?
I'm going to go with C, none of the above. We're not into that, into caring about that stuff.
Yeah, social media. Hey, I know the way it is with you players. Listen, you're off to a great start there in Florida, Matthew. I know you'd probably like a little bit more team success in the moment, but 17 assists, 8 goals, you're at 25 points. A lot of times when players change locations for the first time, it can take a little while to grab that foothold. You had 8 points in your first 5 games. Why do you think it went pretty seamlessly for you?
I've been put in a really good position here. I obviously knew a lot about this team and organization learned a lot about them, throughout the summer. Came down here early, just really got acclimated to the team and the city and just everything that would help make me comfortable stepping on the ice. And I think that's the problems that some guys have when they go to a new team or city. It's adjusting just to life there in general. And life's been very great to me down here. Life at the rink's been even better. I'm just really happy here.
And I was watching your game last weekend against your old pals from Calgary. I got to think that it's nice to get those over with early, right? You don't want it to drag into March until you play them. And you also go to Calgary next week. I mean, what do you think it'll be like in terms of the crowd reaction? I think back to Jack Eichel going back to Buffalo. I know that's different, but, it was emotional for him. I mean, what do you think it's going to be like for you next week in Calgary?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the same as that. That's for sure. But I'm excited. I've grew up there. I played 6 years there. So many games, so many big games, so many great moments. It's going to be weird sitting on the other bench and in the away locker room, and just everything would be so different there. But get to see a lot of. Just looking forward to just going and playing a game at the rink, walking, seeing security, people that I haven't seen in forever, seeing the fans that are, season ticket people that you see there all the time. Just people around the rink and having that experience again on the other side will be different. It'll be weird, but those fans have done a lot for me and have been so appreciative of me, and I've been even more happy to play in front of them for all those years, and I can't wait to see it.
I think about energy that you hockey players receive from crowds. So when you're at home, it's that positive energy, it's that love and adulation and raising your hands in the air, and they're cheering for you. And then when you're on the road, when you're a villain on the road, you hear them, raining down on you with the hatred and the booze. And some players are able to function in either. Some thrive more in the negative. How do you think you react to both of those? Because it seems to me like you're a guy that can thrive in the negative every bit as much as kind of soaking in the love.
Yeah, I enjoy both. I don't have a problem with both. I think if you'd ask most people, because there's probably only a handful of people that actually get booed, individuals that get booed in road rinks, but normally the players that do, they're doing something right, or they're doing something that causes that so they can play under that pressure. So, you think that you just named like a guy like Jack Eichel. He thrived under it. I think about like past few years playing in Calgary, Adam Fox would get booed every time he touched the puck. He thrived under it. So just a few examples that I've seen in person. Doesn't happen. I'm sure certain guys would get booed. They probably couldn't handle it, but at the end of the day, those guys aren't getting booed.
Matthew, I don't know if you've been asked this since the Blockbuster trade, and I apologize if you have and I missed it, but I assumed all along that part of the reason why you made the very difficult decision to say that you were ready to move on was that your pal Johnny Gaudreau had moved on right before you. And I had always linked those two things, but maybe that was wrong of me to do without actually asking you. But do you think you were heading towards a certain decision no matter what, or did that affect your thinking in the end?
Yeah, that had really no effect. The decision all was not linked to that and had no really affiliation with it. It just kind of happened similar time, which I'm sure people could try to link that or try to make something out of it, but it really had nothing to do with it.
I think about the lifestyle change. Right. I'm here in Alberta. I live the Alberta lifestyle through the winter months. You did that for years. And all of a sudden to be in Florida where the options are different, the lifestyle is different. And I wonder, Matthew, about how you stay in that hockey mindset and how you've been able to stay really dialed in with such a dramatic change in your lifestyle away from the rink. Has that been challenging at all, or are you just loving it and embracing it?
It really hasn't been challenging at all because I don't think I've ever been a part of a team that holds ourselves to a certain standard when it comes to the on ice and how preparation is and everything. Like maybe there's not the outside pressure or the outside expectations. Not that had any effect on me when I was in Calgary, but like down here, there isn't as much as that. But the expectations and I wouldn't say pressure, but just how we want to play and what we expect of ourselves is so high with this team and with this whole organization. And it's really been unbelievable to be a part of just each and every day, what we expect out of ourselves. So, but definitely the off ice lifestyle is obviously the biggest change. Now I've got a bunch of family here for Thanksgiving. Going to try to go to the beach today. That's just going to try to get out of here and done with you guys so I can actually get some hours at the beach here today. I was just kidding. But that's the biggest difference. I've just obviously really enjoyed my time down here, and the guys have been great. Life outside has been awesome. Had a lot of people visiting, so it's been awesome.
Is there any guilt at all if you're on the golf course the day after a loss? I often wonder that with players during the season about golf in season. Can you enjoy a round of golf the day after a loss?
I've golfed pretty much every off day that I've been down here. I try on those off days just to try to not think about hockey, and I think it's easier down here to get away from it. I'm not saying that's a negative in Canada, but everywhere you go or, every place you turn, it's pretty much 24/7 hockey. So it's a good distraction down here, which is why it's so good that our team, like at the rink and during games and practices and workout, we expect so much out of ourselves, and the internal expectation and pressure is so high here that we can afford on off days to not think about hockey.
Yeah. Well, I can just tell you how jealous I am that you get to do that, man. Our golf season is a little different up here, as you know. Last question from me would be this. Last question from me for you, Matthew, would be how you've got a different coach, of course, after leaving Calgary. Daryl Sutter can often be a man of few words, and Paul Maurice is really known as this great communicator, and they both have had a lot of success in their careers. Different ways to coach, right? I mean, how would you compare playing for Daryl Sutter and now for Paul Maurice?
I've absolutely loved playing for Paul here. It's been unbelievable. He's, like you said, he's a great communicator, and his preparation is best I've seen. Just how he gets the best out of his players, and how he's respectful of players and trainers and everything. Everybody just loves him here, and he's been awesome for me so far. I've learned a lot about myself as a player, and it's just a very professional environment, but he likes to have a lot of fun too. Likes to joke around. He's got a really good personality. Everybody here, nobody has a bad word to say about him. He's been awesome. Trainers, players, equipment guys, everybody loves him. So he's been great so far. He's been great for my for my year. I think that we've talked a lot. A lot more than probably my past coaches about trying to improve on little things that I wouldn't have really thought of. So, he's been great. I've really enjoyed it. everybody's really enjoying him back there, and the rest of the coaching staff too. So it's been great.
Listen, I want to ask you about Sutter's comments from the other day. You know, he was asked about you, and he said there were times last year I felt sorry for Matthew. He was always at the rink. He couldn't do anything, go anywhere, or go home. Did those comments catch your ear? And what did you think of your old coach saying that?
I didn't hear those until right now, but last year I had a lot of fun with the guys. We had a great time last year. There was a bunch of us that lived really close to each other that were doing stuff each and every day. I'd say it was probably, if you said that, it was probably meaning more like the year before that where you couldn't do much. But
COVID and such, yeah.
Yeah, but it was still good. Obviously that time in Canada and everything was never fun anywhere, but especially in Canada wasn't fun. But no, we had a great time. We were a very close team last year, did everything together off ice, and I don't know what he was trying to say. Maybe he was talking about some other time. I really have no idea.
All right, fair enough. Listen, before we let you go, the name of the podcast has Got Your Back, because we love hearing people's stories about a time in their life where somebody had their back. So when I present that to Matthew Tkachuk, what's your answer? Who had Matthew Tkachuk's back?
I think back to when I was 18. I was trying everything possible to make the team in Calgary. And I was kind of like competing with, obviously you're competing with a bunch of guys to make roster spots and for playing time, and you guys know. And one guy who really had my back was Michael Ferland, took me under his wing, kind of showed me the ropes and everything. And there was one of the last few preseason games, somebody on Vancouver who like never played in the NHL kind of ran me in front of the bench or whatever, a little late, not whatever. It wasn't a big deal, but shook me up, and I had to go to the locker room. And as I'm in the locker room, I hear a huge roar from out in the rink, and Furley went up to the guy and basically just kicked the shit out of him. So, and that's a guy who I'm competing with for a job and everything, and he's doing that, and did that for me for 3 years when I played with him. So, very thankful for guys like Furley, guys like Derek Englund. My first couple of years that stuck up for me and had to protect me. So those guys really had my back.
That's got to be a great feeling when someone does that. Like when you see him, is that a hug? Do you hug a guy after that? I feel like I'd want to hug a guy.
I think that was a hug. Took him out to dinner, got him a
I was going to say, buy him dinner.
Yeah, buy him dinner. All right, last thing before we let you go to the beach, really quick. We're going to do some rapid fire, and then you can get the heck out of here and get to the beach. And this is non-hockey related rapid fire. Here we go with Matthew Tkachuk. Star Wars, Marvel movies, or neither?
Neither.
Have you seen any Star Wars movies?
Not in a long time. I've seen like the Iron Man. I like the Iron Man movies, so I'll go with Marvel.
That's a Marvel answer. On the plane, Cards with the Fellas or iPad and relax?
Cards.
Fall asleep, TV on, white noise, or complete quiet?
Complete quiet.
Slippers or bare feet in the morning?
Bare feet.
Did that change? Must have been slippers in Calgary, no?
It was Timberland boots in Calgary.
Favorite toy as a kid?
Probably just like mini sticks.
A 3-hour drive. You want to be at the wheel or the passenger?
At the wheel and playing music.
Okay. Lots of conversation or just quieter music?
Depends who I'm with. Probably talking.
3-hour drive. You're driving. Your passenger takes a nap. Offside or okay?
That's okay with me.
That's offside. Okay. You can't nap if you're the passenger. Don't you got to keep the guy company?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. It depends who it is. If it's somebody that can annoy the hell out of you, then that's totally fine.
Michael Ferland would never nap next to you if you were driving.
No, he'd be checking the mirror every 2 seconds to make sure no one was coming.
Making sure you weren't being tailgated. Pull over. Yeah. I got to deal with this guy. Read a book or listen to a podcast?
Listen to a podcast.
Okay. Well, we got one that you might like. Longest driver in the family?
Probably, oh, man. If Brady really attacks one, it's him.
Worst putter?
Brady as well.
Cleanest room?
Probably, my sister, my parents, Brady and I aren't.
Are you a mess? Is your bed made right now?
I mean, I haven't been in their house for years, but when I was there, it was about no. I keep it.
Like, is your bed made right now at the house where you live right now? Are you going home to a made bed?
Well, I got all my family here right now for Thanksgiving, so if somebody want to make it for me, I'll take
it. What's your go-to meal if you are cooking for yourself?
I really only grill. So in a perfect world, I'm picking up a Caesar salad from somewhere and grilling either chicken or steak and making a steak Caesar salad. That's probably the go-to.
Dressing on the side with the Caesar, or you just chuck it in there?
I mean, if I'd rather them make it. Normally, people know.
Yeah. You nice clothes. Do you enjoy it, or is it kind of a pain in the ass getting dressed up for work?
Here in Florida, it's a pain in the ass.
Why in Florida? Just the weather? Too hot?
I just like throwing on short sleeve shorts and my sandals right now. That's easy for me. You
got to go with the old classic Sean Avery short suits. Did you ever see that when Avery was wearing the suits with the short?
I haven't, but one game this year I did wear a short sleeve button down under my suit, and I was like, I don't think I can pull this off anymore.
No, he had short, like his pants were short, so he had a full suit, but the pants were shorts. Yeah, it was unreal. I think it drove his teammates nuts.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Last one, top 3 favorite things to do that are not playing hockey.
Going to the beach or pool, playing golf, and just hanging out with friends.
Well, we're keeping you from doing all 3 of those things, so we'll let you go, Matthew. Thank you so much for the time, and good luck the rest of this year.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it, Matthew. Thank you.
Always great stuff from Florida Panthers forward Matthew Tkachuk. Love it when we can dig into some goofy off-ice stuff with these guys. Always such business when it comes to hockey players, but some fun there getting to know Matthew Tkachuk a little bit. All right. Today in our Straight to the Point segment, Scott Burnside digs into the New Jersey Devils and what a season it has been so far for them. 16-3, 32 points as Ray and I were talking about. They're 8-1 on the road, 8-2 at home. They play fast, they play hard. Their personnel seems tailor-made for that system. So how does all of that come together for an organization? Well, as Scott dives into, it's about an organization taking stock of where it's at, where it wants to get, and the decisions you need to make to get from point A to point B. They have made some good ones and are reaping the rewards. Scott Burnside, straight to the point on the New Jersey Devils.
If the New Jersey Devils keep this up, fans in Newark are going to have to come up with even more inventive ways to apologize to head coach Lindy Ruff, whose head they were calling for after just 2 losses to start this NHL season. Of course, as we're recording this, the Devils have reeled off 13 straight victories. They are the story of the first quarter of this NHL season, tying a franchise record set more than 2 decades ago and tied for the 7th longest win streak in NHL history. And let's be honest, I don't think anyone saw this coming. And the fact that Lindy Ruff entered this season in the final year of his contract speaks to some skepticism within the organization that he was the man to help this young team fulfill its significant potential. But the proof is in the standings. They're in the points. They're in the statistics. Devils are number 1 in the NHL in 5-on-5 goals scored, tied for 4th in 5-on-5 goals allowed. And you might think that this is all about Lindy Ruff and his staff. But really, it's about an organization that did a deep dive into how it did all of its hockey business in the offseason. I talked to Tom Fitzgerald, the GM, about a week ago, and he talked about in the offseason how everyone, starting with himself, looked at how they not only did their job, but how could they do it better? How could the different departments communicate more effectively within hockey ops? How could they help the coaching staff and thus the players to reach their potential? And there was some change on the coaching staff too. Andrew Burnett came over from Florida, where he was the interim head coach. Won 13 straight games, by the way, en route to a President's Trophy win. Sergei Brylin, longtime Devil, joined Lindy Ruff's staff. Ryan McGill comes over from Vegas. So the coaching staff has a new look to it, but this all comes from Lindy Ruff. And there is a man, 5th all-time in games coached, 5th all-time in wins among NHL coaches. You can make the case he will be a Hall of Famer when his career is over. he adapted and also took to heart how he approached his job. Listen, the easy thing is to change the head coach, go a different direction. It appeases the fans. Maybe it appeases ownership. New Jersey Devils did not take the easy way out. And kudos to them, and kudos to Lindy Ruff for a new leash on his coaching life when maybe many people thought, especially the fans in Newark, that it should be coming to a close.
All right, that'll wrap up the podcast, folks. Thank you so much for your downloads and your subscriptions. We really appreciate you coming along on the ride here with us. Big thanks to Matthew Tkachuk for joining us, Ray Ferraro as well. And a big thanks, as always, to our sponsors, Cross Country Canada Supplies and Rentals, Pro Hockey Life, and, of course, Liberty Smart Security. Leave us a review on iTunes if you get a chance. We'd love to hear what you think. My DMs are open on Twitter as well, so any feedback you have here on the podcast, we want to make this as great as we can, and that requires your feedback. So let us know what you think about what we're doing here on Got Your Back, LeBrun and Rishaug, or Got Your Back, YEG. That's, of course, the local pod that we do with Jason Strudwick here in Edmonton. Have yourselves a fantastic finish to the week, folks, and look forward to chatting again soon. Cheers.